All right. So really the goal today is just to kind of update everybody on just how things are going, what's next, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to take the first half of the coffee chat. And then Kara's going to hop on and take the second half because I have to leave for sliding and she's coming from rehab. So that athlete life schedule. So we're going to just update just on what has gone on in 2020, what our plans are for 2020, and then what's next in terms of like paid posts and webinars. And it's a little bit out of order because of who's taking what. And then also just ask for some feedback from you too. So be prepared for feedback. So I think you both know what Parity is. It's an influencer platform. We always kind of just refresh. I think the most important thing that we want to make sure people understand is that we are trying to grow the platform with as many pro female athletes as possible. Like our system isn't let's pick a few athletes and pay them. We're trying to pay as many pro female athletes as possible. So even though the contest is over and all that good stuff, we always welcome you to invite other pro female athletes, whether you know them well or not. But if you think they'd be a good fit for the platform, please feel free to tag them and invite them to join the platform. Because the cool thing about our concept is the more people, the better, because we can go to a brand and say, we have 4 million followers, or we can go to a brand and say we have access to 10 million followers through one contract. And so that's kind of the idea of, if you know other pro female athletes, please feel free to continue to suggest them to the platform. Any questions on that so far? No? Good. Okay, next. So this is really cool. An update on just the number of athletes. Currently, we have 401 registered pro female athletes. Some of them are in different parts of the platform as far as like their participation. But like I said, we want to invite and include as many pro female athletes as possible. So we have 90 new athletes from our last coffee chat. And we saw a lot of those come through after the first paid post where people were talking about what Parity meant to them and just tagging them. And it was really exciting to see how many athletes were like, this sounds really cool. We want to be a part of it. So we're always looking to grow. So we have 90 new athletes, 6 additional sports represented, 1 league, and then we're in conversations with a couple other leagues and leagues and players associations about trying to collaborate with them as well. So 50% of the people are ice hockey because the PWHPA, there's a good number of players from that organization. And then track and field, because as you guys both probably know, EO started with consulting with track and field. So there's a lot of those athletes. And then also volleyball, which is a pretty well represented sport. So youngest athlete is 18 years old. The oldest is 61. We have 80 Olympians and Paralympians who have won 68 medals. And the medal total is below. Any questions? Good? Awesome. All right, next slide. So this is the fun part for me. I am kind of been tasked with finding people and coming up with topics for the webinars. And I think a big portion of it is, getting athletes paid, but the way in which we attack that is a more holistic approach, right? Because if we are paying athletes for paid posts, but we are also helping them grow their Instagrams, or we are helping them prepare for life after sport, that's still in the same thread of getting athletes paid. So the next webinar we have will be next week, and it is going to be run by a beach volleyball athlete. Her name is Melissa Fuchs, and it's cool because she's actually leaving to Brazil the week after for her competition. So she's going to do a Reels thing, go over how to use it, kind of her thought behind it to teach people how to use Reels, because with Instagram, when Instagram comes out with new products, they prioritize accounts who utilize new products. So I was on TikTok before Reels, and using reels a little more cumbersome. So she does a lot of them. And so she's just going to walk us all through how she does them and her ideas behind it. The next one is going to be crafting your own story. And that's going to be by Jessica Carey, who is a TEDx curator. So I worked with her in curating my TEDx talk. Now, TEDx talks have a very specific format, but she works in just curating and crafting speeches. So the plan is to have an introductory webinar with her, and then after that, trying to just break down where people's needs are in terms of like crafting a speech for public speaking. And then we won't have a webinar the week of Thanksgiving, but these are some of the future topics. So Lauren Williams is always very well received. And so she's going to do one on money mindset. So kind of like budgeting and such, and just different ways to do it. And then investing 101, which I think is something that we've all wanted to get a little more into. For those of you who joined Bill's negotiation webinar, it was very well received, but there was a lot of stuff. So what we want to do is try and break it down into smaller, more palatable chunks so that we can really understand the different phases and different types of negotiation. And then for those of you who were on with Gia Goodrich, she did a webinar on finding your light. And Gia does a lot of webinars and vlogs, and she's a professional photographer. So we've asked her to come up with a list of webinars that she teaches on, but also just webinars that she'd like to test out on a community because she was very impactful and people really enjoyed her. The cool thing with webinars is in the same thread of trying to pay professional female athletes, we're always open to Parity community athletes running webinars. So if you feel like you have an expertise in something that you think would be beneficial to the group, even if you don't feel like you're quite an expert, but maybe need some help flushing out an idea or what have you, we're more than happy to meet with anyone, have them help flush out the idea, and then coach them through conducting a webinar and then pay them for it. So if either public speaking or teaching is something that anybody wants to get into, we're more than happy to help facilitate that process. Any questions on webinars or comments on webinars? No. Other than this list at the top of off the top of your head, are there other webinars or topics that you think would be helpful? We find that like the ones that have to do with Instagram or things that athletes can do while they're competing are more popular, but we don't want to ignore the post, I guess, sport career type of topics as well, like interviewing skills, LinkedIn stuff, career coaching and mentoring and things like that. So any other ideas or topics that come to mind from after looking at this list?
It's not exactly personal to me, but I definitely have heard a lot of athletes talk about connecting with their network. It's almost like this awkward pause, especially when you're either transitioning or you have transitioned to not being an active athlete, of you're so used to reaching out to a network specifically for sponsorship or what you need as an athlete, but how do you do it in the transition or post or for other reasons? And I don't know how to necessarily word that, or maybe even like transition your network, expand, something to do.
So what you're saying is like, okay, now I've retired. These are people that I usually talk to about sponsorship, but I might want to try and work for this company type of thing.
Yeah, or even like maybe you're an entrepreneur now because you've transitioned and you're looking for startup money or collaborations. How do you kind of shift that conversation with your network, or just even staying connected post being an athlete, asking them for that same support?
That's huge because that's a big one just because there's a different facets of it, because it's the same with like your Instagram following, right? Like your Instagram following showed up because they were really excited about watching you compete. And so how do you transition from an athlete to a real person and still keep that following potentially, right? And so I guess how to show up show up after retirement, or in that, like how to show up in that network or within that group after retirement, is that kind of like what you're thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we touched on with Instagram is that your following does want to get personal with you while you're an athlete. So, in a
Mhm.
way, you have that ability to shift because maybe you showed them that you enjoy cooking and stuff. But I feel like when it's a network that you ask for sponsorship or a network that's more corporate oriented, it's like how do I go to Joe Schmo and be like, hey, I have really good, communication skills, or my background is in graphic design. I potentially would love a job or opportunity to grow with them. I love what they stand for as an athlete and now as a person, or vice versa. Like I have a startup. I would love a collaboration or support or to present these
Right.
ideas.
I think that's a definitely a Bill Shelton webinar that we can do. So that's a great one. Any other webinar ideas? They don't even have to be fully flushed out. Just like potential topics. No?
I
Yeah.
think this is along the same lines. I think it's probably exactly on the same lines, but the power of transferable skills and actually how to utilize them. So I think it's all along the same lines on you or us as an athlete have developed some pretty impressive skills, but how to actually utilize them in a new network or a new field.
I actually think it is along the same thread, but it's a completely different topic, and one that I think is really important because I talk to athletes all the time and they're like, well, I haven't done anything.
And it's like, yes, you have.
Yes, you have. Right. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Cool. Anything else? No? Okay. Next slide, please. All right. And then just to touch on kind of our goals or framework for 2021. So right now we have 401 athletes. Our goal is to grow the Parity community to 500 to 600 by the end of Q1. So by the end of Q1 in 2021. We want to increase money paid to athletes so that, that it's included in like, obviously paid posts, but also in, running webinars and just engaging athletes in different ways to find unique ways to pay female athletes, which is fun. Another thing that we're working towards and have already started is contracting photographers to capture professional shots for athletes and for us to use. So Whitney, that's why I asked how many athletes you thought might be in Toronto, because if we can coordinate a shoot and then allow athletes access to higher quality photos, it can increase the professionalism of their Instagram, which is helpful in growing your following. So, and then obviously since the pay goes cent per follower, the more followers you will have, the more money we're going to be able to pay them. So currently we have 2 shoots. Sarah has taken on this project. So we have an LA shoot starting this week. We have 16 athletes that are either in the LA area or near the LA area. And then we are doing a Lake Placid shoot because we've got about 15 athletes here that are in the bubble. So just trying to figure out how to get all the shots in around COVID and pods. And so that's all scheduled. It's just, we don't have exact dates because of just how the training schedules work. The next thing that we're focusing on is creating and testing just different marketing proposals for brands. And so something that we're going to be starting is an IG live weekly series. So the first one will most likely be Mama Knows Monday. There's a lot of buzz and information and just a need for athletes that want to be moms, but also want to continue to compete, to share information and knowledge and get support. So that's definitely a huge need in our community. But like I mentioned before, if you have other IG live weekly series ideas, we would love to collaborate and figure out how to get you involved and pay you for your time within those series. So recovery, we've thought about doing like a recovery series, or working through injury, or funding is always a big one. Jazz, I know you basically formed your own federation and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that could be useful as well. Or, if you want to talk about when like, and pre, refereeing or working in your sport after competing and things like that, I think would be really good as well. And then,
Also, sorry, school sport balance, because that's what I'm currently doing. I'm in a master's program and also trying to train, and it's not new to me, but it's yeah.
But that's big, right? Because there's a lot more athletes than I realize that are doing school and sport at the same time. So that would be a great one as well. That could be a webinar, that could be an IG live series, that could be, just how to time management in general, right? Time management's big, because I think we know really well how to fully dedicate ourselves to sport, but then how do we fully dedicate ourselves to sport and still show up in other areas and still be effective in the sport? That's the thing, right? Because you're like, well, I'm good because I give 90% of myself to this sport. So now how can you still be good if you can only give 75? And there's definitely a fear and like a drop off in performance, which can be scary. So, all right.
Mental health would be a good one for sure. And especially in our community and with women who need to act tough and happy all the time.
Yeah. People who need to smile, right?
Yeah.
You need to smile. Absolutely. And then Parity social justice packages. So this is kind of what we're going with for partnering with brands is focusing on that social justice opportunity, because we realize that there are a lot of companies that need to show up differently and show their customers and society that they support different causes. And so that's kind of our current strategy as far as approaching brands, is giving them basically pre-planned opportunities to show support for different social causes. And mental health, I think, will definitely be one that will be a big one as well. And obviously women's equality is in Women's History Month, but these are the three that we've kind of started with, just because it spreads it out a little bit, and then we can reevaluate once we've done the one in June to see what the rest of the year will look like. And then, like I mentioned before, Players Association partnerships is a big thing for us. We have PWHPA, we're talking to a couple more. Our goals are to try and get more golfers, tennis players, and basketball players. So those will be the next three types of associations that we're looking towards. But if you know of a players association or a league that might benefit from partnering with Parity, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to have that conversation. Next slide. And for that, I welcome Kara Winger to take over the rest of the presentation.
Hello. Thanks, Lauren. Speaking of time management, right, we're teaming up on this presentation today because we're both still active athletes, and I'm talking to you about Parity. So, hello. If I haven't met you, I'm Kara Winger. I throw the javelin, and I know that Lauren has to go to sliding soon, so I just want to say thank you. You're amazing, and I appreciate you in all of your roles, and have a great day of training.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I throw the javelin. I am basically Lauren's counterpart here in the Parity and EOS community. So here is a recap of our first paid post campaign, the What Does Parity Mean to You campaign. Did everyone participate that's on this call? Cool. I know Lauren and I both did. I hope that I'm on my phone, so sorry, I can't see you, but hooray. So these are some numbers that we pulled from the Creator IQ software that we're now using. The overall engagement rate of the entirety of the women that posted, all 147 posts, was 4.72%. I thought I had included that in this graphic, but when I was looking last night, I didn't, but I know that number because I've seen it multiple times. And industry average, or like something that is considered good as far as engagement rate in the social media marketing industry, is 2 to 3%. So the fact that we like more than doubled that 2% number as an entire community is really awesome, because a lot of the statistics that I was researching kind of to put on our new website, which we'll get to, maybe it was already on here, but they say that in the top, like the higher level of followership you have, the lower your engagement rate typically is. So the fact that like all of our women had that average engagement rate. Maybe the lower follower count groups have a higher one, but the fact that of all 147 women, our engagement rate is still phenomenal just speaks to the power of our community. And these other numbers just correlate with that. The reach was huge. Other kind of best practices in the social media marketing industry are that campaigns should be like really focused and simple and allow creators to like go whichever direction they want to. And to me, this was just a first step toward that. And it can become like a lot more specific, a lot more like really genuine to who you as athletes are. And I'm really excited about what those numbers will be in the future, because this is phenomenal for a first try and something that was like kind of more widespread than it might be advisable to be. So some of the lessons that we learned were, or like kind of me personally within the back end of like planning that campaign and pushing it out to the creators, is that the prompts need to be a lot more brief. And I want your feedback on this. We all do, to make these efforts just more powerful. So the email, you know, as our first try, it was like, let's redefine what parity is and then tell you what we want from this campaign. And what I think is going to be better in the future is to just get right to the point. So I'd love your feedback on that. Emails end up in promotions tabs and spam folders, and we need to solve for that, but we have some ideas for the immediate future to try and do that, because we want everyone to be able to see the opportunity, not see it actually happening and then feel like they missed out. So we have to like get the information to you in the first place. And then just again, like the numbers are amazing. Reading all of your words was absolutely amazing. And it's just really fun to have actually done this. So any feedback you guys have would be awesome. Chime in.
For your email situation, potentially when you say you want to kind of shorten it and get to the point, I've received emails that are not along those lines, but you can click it to add to your calendar automatically. So that would be a great reminder. And then people always have their cell phone, and then it won't like go away. And then they can get alerts of like, don't forget your parity post. And then the details are all in there. So that could be something.
Great feedback. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of a calendar invite for the post part, but that seems like a natural thing now that you say it out loud.
I love calendar invites.
Yeah.
They're my love language.
Yeah, ditto. And I guess like, especially Lauren was talking before, how a lot of people are multitasking right now with like school or getting back into season, or even yourself like rehabbing and trying to do all these things. Remembering it's one thing to remember like, oh, I have a parity post. What does parity mean to me? But especially because the post changed to being multiple days, you can do that all through the calendar and then the updates there rather than the emails getting lost.
Awesome. I will dive into Creator IQ and see if that's an option. And if not, we've been told that we have a lot of like input as one of their maybe bigger, like newer, more exciting clients using their software. So we can give them that feedback and try to revolutionize the platform if it doesn't already exist. That's awesome feedback. Thank you. Anyone else? Cool. Next slide, please, Sarah. Here is a slide that you've all seen before if you've been on community chats. This is our athlete advisory group. We are kind of in the process of revamping what that looks like as we've like gotten more into, you know, actually having campaigns and doing things that we've talked about for a long time that are actually happening, and that's really fun. And yeah, so this update is generally just if you are interested in being a part of the athlete advisory group, please get a hold of us, because it's maybe going to look a little bit different moving forward and be a little bit more structured in terms of like working groups and stuff like that. Because it's been really successful. Like Pri and Carly and Nikki did a really awesome job on like a very specific project that we talked about as the bigger athlete advisory group. So there's these like little breakout groups that have been really awesome. And I think we all know that working in smaller groups is often more effective. So that might be our structure moving forward, but that's just an ongoing conversation. So if you are interested in shaping the future of Parity and you want to be a part of the athlete advisory group, please let us know because we are open to it. Next slide, please. For our next paid posts, we are going to do another round of what does Parity mean to you for the athletes who didn't get a chance to participate in the one a couple weeks ago because of, like we said, the emails kind of getting lost in spam and promotions folders. And that's not the only reason. We just want to be inclusive and provide everybody with an opportunity to participate in that. It was so successful for our followership increase on Instagram as well. And that's not our main goal. It's to pay women and provide this community. But it's just neat to be able to have a larger platform to be able to do that, to serve the community. So that if that's a byproduct of the second round, cool. If not, also cool. We'll still be paying women to post about something that they care about because the genuineness of it was the coolest part. So that's number one. The second one is kind of a work in progress as far as us sourcing your information. So we want to make sure that we get the process of those paid posts like down. So I'm really excited to switch up the What Does Parity Mean to You campaign emails, like I said, to be just more concise, to the point, add a calendar invite, and just make it really clear what the expectations are. For other campaigns moving forward, we would love to work with companies that you love or nonprofits that you love that are maybe in a specific space that might correspond to the survey that we have you fill out when you register, to again make those campaigns like really focused on a cause. And like Lauren said, we're working on some like social justice kinds of like campaigns and packages for companies to be involved in. But if you have a company that already exists in the space that some of those social justice movements are in, we're interested in helping promote that company in the form of a campaign to learn even more about the process and make it seamless moving forward. So if anyone has input on a company that you love and think would be a good fit for a campaign for us to work with them, you slide into our DMs, you email us, you put it in the chat right now. We want to know about it and we'll make it happen. So that one is kind of the most in flux. And then the other two, Shannon Robery, who is our Senior Director of Athlete Experience, is working, she's connected with us with two companies that kind of have to do with the Hispanic Heritage Month campaign that we did briefly in the middle of October, but more so like those relationships have grown into some of the other areas. Thank you, Jasmine. Cool. That we've sourced on the survey, sorry. So two of those companies are La Cocina. It's like an entrepreneurial venture, like having to do with restaurants and mostly women of color in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I love talking to them. That was a really fun conversation. The other one is Hola Amigo Box, which is like a Spanish speaking, basically play learning company. So those are two kind of in the next month. Again, like we're just having initial conversations with them and have some ideas about how campaigns might fit in with our community and what they're about as companies. And we will be in communication about that. But those ones are really fun because Shannon already had connections to them. So that's exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about. Like if you have a company that you like and you want to work with and you want us to work with, we're learning as we go, but we're really excited about that process and making it result in payment to our community. Questions. I saw that. Questions or input. Kids Play International. Awesome. Do you want to talk about it a little bit, Jasmine? Have you worked with them?
Yeah, I've worked with them. So it's actually a aerialist or retired aerialist Olympian from Team USA who now lives in Park City, Susie, or Sue. She goes by Sue. And I met her through doing some stuff in LA, and she, like Dawn Harper from track and field is out there. We had a few international soccer players out there that were just supporting her event to basically raise money and potentially sponsor athletes. So what she does is she's grown this over, I want to say, at least 10 years, where she actually has set up in Africa, specifically Rwanda, and sorry, my dog is mad. He's not getting attention. Rwanda and I believe another country in Africa, and she has set up within schools and partnership with schools, especially in rural areas that aren't near major cities. So she provides equipment, teachers, and programs. And those countries specifically were not allowing women to do sports. So girls either had to like play their own games or basically play sports without knowing what to do. So she's actually provided a whole system of teaching the boys in the school how to respect women and play with women, as well as teaching girls that they're equal to play. It's just a really cool organization. So she has different tiers of how you can sponsor. She's worked with multiple organizations who donate soccer balls or sponsor potentially her teachers. And then she has ambassadors where they've gone out when it's one, feasible cost-wise, as well as not a world pandemic going on, to go out there a lot like the other organizations out there that do sponsor kids and stuff. But it's really cool, and I've been really excited to see how much it's grown and how much Parity actually is part of their key thing. So when I saw that in the email, I thought that was a great organization to reach out to.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds perfect and amazing, and we will absolutely follow up. Very cool. Thank you. Anyone else? We're here for your ideas all the time and excited about exploring all of them. Next slide, please, Sarah. Organizational updates. And yeah, thanks for sticking with, again, Lauren and I tag teaming on this presentation, because the slides were in order, but then we had to order them so we would be presenting when we were both here. So here we are nearing the end. Organizational updates are that we did some full-time hires, namely Sarah, me, and Odessa, in that order. So Sarah became full-time like in August, I think, mid-August. And she's a number cruncher behind the scenes, always there to get the information to like salespeople and any presentation that we need her to be a part of, but also setting up campaigns, like the backside kind of work of getting everything in working order within the software, and doing other random jobs, like things that are really important, like setting up the LA photo shoot that's going to start tomorrow, which is super exciting for all of the athletes involved and the photographers that are really excited about our mission too, and are going to produce like beautiful images for us and the athletes to use. So super fun. Me, I'm doing a lot of different things. Odessa is one of our salespeople. Kind of externally, she is very formally director of business development. So she's going to help us kind of further define our brand moving forward and use some of the connections that she's formed through her work with the WNFC, her very entrepreneurial ventures. She's really accomplished in a lot of different areas to bring the power to parity. My phone now, I'm sweating in my car, you guys. It's crazy. We are updating the EOS and Parity websites. Minor right now, like word changes and stuff like that. And then later we will do a major update in like 2021. And then new Parity programming, we're always looking for new webinar hosts. We really want to, and this is something I would love feedback on, we really want to have more consistent webinars as far as like timing. Like I would love for them all to be Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, because that seemed to work for people's schedules. And that is sometimes dependent on the presenter. And we have some really cool ones coming up. but also like series of webinars. So feedback on that, like the idea would be if you attended Gia Goodrich's webinar that she already had about lighting and charisma, that we would like have her come back every month, you know, the second week of the month to present on like a little bit more detail on that subject, or like start a new subject, but it's a consistent person. So we all kind of get to know them and build that trust and move forward together. But you cycle through those presenters like every month. How does that sound?
Great. You can't see us all, right? So you need a voice.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, I see nodding now. Okay, I have to swipe.
Lauren touched on this, so we all were in positives.
Okay, sweet. I'm really excited about it. I think it will just, I guess, build momentum and like loyalty and stuff like that. Not to us necessarily, but like to that presenter, because there are some super awesome women that we've already heard from and we're going to hear from. One that I'm super excited about, and I think people are scared of public speaking, and probably Lauren mentioned her as well, because I know that there was a webinar slide before, but is Jessica Carey, who was Lauren's TEDx coach. And she's going to talk to us about public speaking, and I can't wait for that. So that would be a definite like repeat, I think, because yeah, it's an industry that you can make money in, and it's also really fun when you get the hang of it. As a non-medalist and someone who gets to speak to people sometimes, like everybody has a story that relates to groups of people, and I'm just really excited about that one specifically. So I'd love for her to come back. Cool. Thank you for catching me up. Next slide, please, Sarah. Cool. And this is the end of our presentation. What is the best way to reach people? It seems like people respond the most to direct messages on Instagram.
I mean, all the above, but I think whatever way a person communicates the most. So if most people have their phones in their hands, but I think I would encourage everyone, as like you as in Parity, to encourage everyone to put notifications on for the Parity IG. That way it doesn't, any information that you post are encouraging for us as you're already following, as well as potential new following. It doesn't get lost in all the other posts that we might see and be scrolling through. Because like there's some posts from Parity I don't see in my feed until 2 days after you posted it, unless I go specifically to Parity or I saw that you and Lauren posted something.
Same. Cool. I will revisit that with Lauren, turning on notifications. Awesome. Yeah, and casting a wide net seems to be the consensus, to email and send emails from Creator IQ and DM and post and then share in our story, and just do all the above. So noted, we'll keep doing it, and probably like mining the data on which medium people respond to. Yeah, because I don't think that the separate app, the WhatsApp groups versus like Telegram or whatever, was very well received. So I think we're doing okay right now. We're figuring it out. Notifications, awesome. Yeah, any new webinar ideas from anybody?
Lauren wrote a few down that we discussed on her slide.
Perfect, thank you for catching me up again. Awesome.
But some of the topics mentioned was mental health. Whitney mentioned like time management, multitasking, being a student and an athlete.
Okay, that's right when I came in. Perfect.
Yes, like right around there is when you came in. So
awesome. And then yeah, just keep communicating with us so we can help you. We'll share your stuff. We will promote your events. One of the things that was fun in October is that Naya Tapper was involved in a breast cancer awareness workout that benefited a breast cancer foundation. and a personal trainer that like she knew. And so we were able to promote that and provide like spots for that workout virtually for our athletes or anybody in the community that like wanted to take part. And it seemed really successful. So that was really fun to promote and be a part of. And we'll always do that for your community events. Like I know you have tournaments all the time, and I try to keep an eye on that and share it on the Parity Instagram. But we'll do that if you communicate. And that's all I have. We can stop sharing, I think, and just chat for a minute.
I actually had a recommendation for you. Sorry, I feel like this person that's talking for the whole group today. I haven't seen people in a long time, so no.
No, I feel you. Yeah, I actually was at a physical place with people yesterday, and I was like way more bubbly than I thought it would be. Yeah, continue.
So a lot of the things that Parity does with support and support for women, I'm an ambassador for a skincare line. And what I did notice for them to keep in touch, because there's like hundreds to thousands of ambassadors pretty much across the world, is they basically they have a private Facebook group, but they also do it in an email because they have a ambassador newsletter every month. They just ask what's going on. It could be, did you get married? Do you have a tournament coming up? Did you win something? Did this, but potentially just pushing out an email to the group once a month. So then Parity already knows, rather than you having to kind of manually figure out what's going on and what to share. You could be like, oh, Pri has these tournaments coming up. I'd love to share her post. This aligns with like our Parity whatever. And that, or someone's getting married and you didn't know until they posted, so now you're trying to scramble and put it up there. Well, now you already know they're getting married or did get married, and they shared a professional photo, so you don't have to copy and paste stuff like that. And it just keeps the lines of communication open, but also like you're not flooded with 50 people just messaging you randomly.
Yeah. So is that Frey? I'm also a Frey ambassador.
Yeah.
I do not participate, it's fine. But yeah, is that like you submit your stuff on the Facebook page, or it's just like a reply to the email? Like how do they collect your event?
She posts it on the Facebook and puts her email there. A lot of people I've seen just reply to the thread, but the majority of it is through email. Potentially, to make it even easier, I feel like you can put it in a survey. Just be like, hey, is anything happening? And then they click if there is. And then you can compile, because it's all going to one center versus getting an email from 400 plus different people.
Cool. I love that. I love it. Part of the new website right now and in the future is a news area and a blog kind of thing. So I'm excited about that, but like, is that enough? Like, can you link to that blog page instead of doing a separate newsletter, or do you like the separate newsletter?
I honestly think that would just be more of the objective. Like with Frey, the newsletters, because there's campaigns every month, right? So they're showing you the campaigns, what new products are out there, other stats, and then sharing what other ambassadors have, what's happened in their life, and their IG pages. If it's just a blog, then I would say, for example, having people turn on notifications of Parity is, you could always be like, just dropped our latest blog. Now everyone who follows Parity, who has notifications on, it's like this smoke signal, and then they go to it, rather than having two separate things. It's more like you're just posting about the one space it's at.
And now that I'm thinking about a newsletter with like what's going on in the community, feels more internal. So that might not be appropriate in a blog, and we have enough information to do both. And the newsletter is more community based. Like you said, like blogging about someone getting married might not be appropriate for that person getting married, but in a newsletter, that's really fun. So cool.
Yeah, kind of like the webinar email that Sarah sent out. It has like upcoming webinars, potential ideas, and there's all that stuff, you can almost, I mean, that was for the month of November, so you can rope that into a internal
The
newsletter.
Cool. I love that. Thank you. Fry smells so good. It's amazing.
It is really good. And being in dry weather, I'm like, my skin is like thirsty all the time.
Cool. Anyone else? Jasmine, you can keep talking. I just want to encourage everyone to participate.
Okay, I'll talk. No, I did I did really like that idea of, because owning a club with so many players, we always try to get ahead, like which tournament you're gonna be at. So we look for their results. So we're not like waiting for them to post. So then we're like 2 days late, giving updates on our players. We know exactly what they're doing. So maybe having some type of a, make it internal letter, just say, hey, this is, we want to know what's going on with you. Do you have any competitions? We're going to try to keep an eye on you guys, follow it, send us your results. Sometimes like we made a group place. There's an app called Band, and it's free. And you can have like thousands of followers in there. And it's inside is just like a Facebook. So you can post and people can comment and you can heart or whatever. And what they do is we taught them like, send us a picture of where you play, who you play with, and how did you finish. So now my social media team for my club, they go in there and then just pick it up and then they just put it on our Instagram and Facebook. It's been way easier than like trying to search per player, what they're doing every weekend. So maybe find a place where, I don't know, maybe a Telegram or because I know a lot of younger people are not on Facebook. So we're probably not going to be very successful. I know a lot of my players, they way younger, they're not on Facebook. Yeah. So find a way where we can educate them to, hey, if you're interested, we want to give you shouts, and a lot of people need that for their sponsors. Like everybody wins, being seen, and they might start, create a culture that we let you know, or we let us know at Parity, how we're doing. And, like you said, I just need to send you like, hey, we have a tournament, keep an eye on it. And here's some pictures, which I do have one this weekend.
That's awesome. I love that. And I agree with you that like a separate app isn't a big deal if people are motivated to share about their events. And once like that support starts happening, I think that the snowball effect could be great for people to actually participate in it. So,
and it's repeatable. Like it's easy to repeat the system. It's not something that we're going to be like pulling our hair, trying to figure out how to follow all these people. Once they start just tagging us and or sending us that update, and slowly it's going to give you more content for social media. And, like it's something that everybody wins. Is not extra work for them just because like, hey, you want to be seen, you're going to have more visibility, and tell them why we do those things also to help them and grow their followers. Then it should be a no-brainer.
Well, yeah. And then those things can both be in a newsletter and on the social media, and you just, support everywhere. Shout outs all over the place. I love it. Big fan. Cool. Okay. Band, you said. Either Band or Telegram. I will look into those because we've talked about it for long enough.
Yeah.
Like something like that I think it's maybe time to make it happen.
Band, you have an app, and also is band.us. So you can do also off of, like a regular internet browser.
Perfect. Just like Facebook.
Yeah.
Like you said. Cool. I'm sweating so much. It's like 75 degrees in Colorado. It's crazy. It's too much.
I thought it was snow, but then that must be the glare, because I was like, how is she sweating in her car? It looks like it's cold, but it's the sun.
Sweating my ass off. Right?
Meanwhile, it's 68 in Florida, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to put double layers.
I
Ridiculous. I got these sweatpants that have feet, and it's too hot to wear them. And I'm mad, but soon. Sorry, Whitney, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so I shouldn't say how cold it is in Canada right now where I am.
How cold is it?
It's actually not that cold. It's only like 7 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Sorry.
Oh, that's
Oh,
like 40.
In the 40s, yeah.
Yeah.
Cold.
It's sunny.
It's freezing.
Well, it's sunny.
I competed
Oh,
in
okay.
Finland once and it was 10 degrees Celsius. And I was like, I cannot even look that up. Like, I will not do that right now. And it was terrible. It was so cold.
So I shouldn't also say that I still cycle through the winter outside. Sorry, I race road bikes. That's my sport. So
Cool. Awesome.
yeah.
No, I think that's incredible. But just as a 34-year-old javelin thrower, my outdoor temperature limit is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like exactly 10 Celsius. For safety, for my poor little joints. The extreme ranges of motion and cold is like not okay. It's really not. I'm coaching like an 18-year-old kid right now, and when it's like 35 degrees, it's like, let's go outside. No, but like he can handle it, and it just makes me really jealous. Ah, youth. Awesome. Well, great feedback. Thanks for participating. I like small groups of people with good input. So appreciate you being here and participating in our campaigns. Look for more soon, and we'll get this email thing figured out as far as like communicating effectively the campaigns and getting people to participate. And actually, just like on that note, like a nearing 50% like acceptance and participation rate, I think like as athletes internally, I've been just like frustrated by what seems like a low number, but it's actually not a low number. It's like a really high number for kind of all of the maybe problems we had that really we only know about, because when you're talking to the group, you want to make it seem like it's going great and handle all the problems for everybody. But the acceptance and participation was actually really great in terms of like what should be expected. It's just that we have really high standards. So we're going to keep pushing and doing it better and getting more people involved.
Yeah, the numbers, I actually, when you posted the slide with all the numbers, I was really impressed. I work for a health and fitness brand where we go over our survey ratings. So like I've seen where we have 10,000 surveys sent out and it's like 55 were, like when it's for feedback. So let's say any type of customer service, once you close that email or you close that live chat, it's asking you to rate. And let's say we have 10,000, it's like you only got 55 back. So of course, if there's any shipping issues or whatever's going on with this company, all you need is like 3 bad ones and your satisfaction rating is like plummeted. So to see that almost 200 out of the 400 and 90 are brand new from our last chat, so they're not exactly 100% comfortable, or somewhere different in season with COVID and other things going on. That's really impressive.
Cool. Thanks for the actual experience in the industry. That's fun. Yeah, it's nice to have a lot of people around now that like see the value in what we're doing, and it's fun to have like the ability to push those numbers out, because it's been neat to kind of play with them and see what that does for each group and each campaign and stuff like that. So we're getting there. I will keep you updated. And join us next week for Instagram Reels with one of our Parity community members. She's a beach volleyball player. I'm excited about it.
And she's Brazilian.
Oh, cool. What a great place. Okay, thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Have a great Wednesday.